Hey friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. Today we are in the production greenhouse and there's going to be production happening behind me, but that is not what we're doing today. Today we are going to be creating the first hanging baskets for 2024. That is correct. I know it's the end of February. It is way too early to be putting out these hanging baskets, but because we have this beautiful growing space, I am going to go ahead and assemble my hanging baskets for my front porch. That way they can hang out here in the greenhouse for the next 6 weeks or so, get nice and big and developed and beautiful. That way when the weather turns, I can then go ahead and hang them on the front porch and I can kind of dust off my hands and they will be done. Again, way too early to be creating your hanging baskets and going ahead and putting them on the front porch unless you live in those warmer zones, right? If you're in warmer California and Texas and Florida, if you are in those warmer zones and you have don't have any more threat of frost and freezes, I say go for it. I'm going to walk you through exactly on how to create containers, all the steps that you need to know, whether you're going to do a hanging basket or you're going to do just a standalone container. I'm going to walk you through, give you my tips and tricks on how to create a successful container / hanging basket. You're going to see some action behind me because it is another rainy day here in North Carolina and we are potting up perennials. So as soon as I get done, I'm joining the production line. So you'll see my sweet people behind me working throughout this video. Let me show you what my supplies are and we're going to talk about the plants that we are going to be using. All right, let's start first things first. You will notice that I have my hanging baskets here. There's one that is set up for you on top of a pot. This is how I'm going to store them in the greenhouse because we're not going to hang them yet. These are massive hanging baskets from Kinsman Garden Company. I love their products because they are so such high quality, tough, durable, and will last for years and years. These are 24 inches wide. They are huge. So from tip to tip is 24 inches. And then the depth on them, I want to say was like 16 to 18 inches. So really nice, huge baskets. There are a total of 4 of them. So I have one here and then I have 3 over here. The reason that I have such large containers is because our front porch, of course, is nice and big. You see our front porch from a great distance, and I want massive baskets that really make an impact. Also, because our growing season is so long, these can go from April to November, and I need as much soil as I possibly can have in my hanging baskets so that my plants stay nice and healthy and happy. So that is why I have these huge ones. I will try to link it on the video description, but you can just go over to Kinsman Garden Company. I'll put all the links, but it's Kinsman Garden Company. So if you don't like this particular design or they're too big, totally understand that. They come in a whole range of shapes and sizes and different kind of decor. So that is what we have there. Now, the plants that we are putting in these baskets, we're keeping it simple. Did this combo last year and it was by far one of my absolute favorites for my front porch. My front porch gets no sun until probably about 2 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then it is blazing hot afternoon sun. I need plants that can handle that. So we are going to use the ever beloved Diamond Frost Euphorbia is going to be my centerpiece. And then the other co-star of the show is going to be these dragon wing red begonias. Now, they are tiny. They are just little liners right now, but they are going to be gorgeous in these baskets. Again, did this combo last year and I loved it. They were absolutely spectacular. Both the Diamond Frost and the Dragon Wings are going to be they can handle all that shade and they can handle the sun. Dragon Wings tend to be more of a shade plant, but because they're predominantly in the shade and then just that little bit of afternoon sun, even though it's hot, they performed great. And I have lots of soil, all that, and they were beautiful and huge and massive. So we're going to repeat that again. Now, my supplies, the supplies that you're going to need. I'm a bad judge of like how far the soil and the compost goes. So I have 3 bags of Land and Sea compost here. And then I have 4 bags of the Proven Winners potting soil back there in the back. and of course my biotone. Whenever I plant my perennials, my annuals, trees, shrubs, we use that biotone for that great, strong, healthy, happy root system. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the camera set up. I got Sweet Thing with me. He's going to help me film. And so we're going to get the camera set up and I'm going to walk you through. I'm going to plant one with you and I'm going to give you tips and tricks how to create successful containers, because even though you may not be able to plant yet, you can start planning and you can start gathering your materials. So if you need to order hanging baskets, now's a great time to do it. If you want to go shopping for containers, now's a great time to do it. Gather up all your supplies, think about your plants, get your plans together. That way, when it's time for you to do it, you can hit the ground running and be ready to go. So let's get to planting. Number one trick for you when you're doing containers. Y'all, I don't care if it's a hanging basket or a container. Get the biggest container that your space will allow, especially if you're like me and you have a very long growing season. We want a big container that your space can allow because of all the soil. Tip number two. Please do not use any kind of filler in the bottom. Don't use, in the South, pine cones, packing peanuts, water bottles. No, we want this entire container completely filled with great compost and potting soil. Why do we want that? We want that so that your plants, their roots, can get in there and have all this delicious food and water and space for those roots to grow. Because if you have happy roots, you have happy shoots. So, biggest container, fill it completely up with compost potting soil. Number three, I guess that would be. I learned this trick years ago from reading, and I think it was Fine Gardening magazine, is that you take a container. Again, I do this with all my containers, hanging baskets, hay racks, just traditional pots, whatever. You're gonna take your compost and you're gonna fill the bottom 1/3 of the container with your compost. And this Lambton seed is a little damp this morning, so it's a little heavy. So we're gonna get in there. And we're gonna fill up, like I said, that bottom 1/3 with your compost. All right, why do we do this? We do this for several reasons. One, thinking about that long growing season that I have. When the roots of my plants, whatever it is, whether it's a perennial, an annual, a shrub, when those roots hit this layer of compost, that's a whole nother level of nutrition that's available for them. And they are going to be happy, happy, happy. Also, compost is going to help hold moisture for me. Yes, it drains. It's not going to be soggy, but it does retain moisture. So you've got a whole nother level of moisture. So we've got the bottom 1/3 with the compost. Then you're going to fill the rest of it with your potting soil. Y'all, use high quality potting soil. I personally like the Proven Winners potting soil. It is my favorite. I have used it for years. This is what I prefer. It drains well, but yet it holds water. There is a fine balance of well draining yet holding moisture. It does have slow release fertilizer in there, so I'm not going to add any to this container right now. Before I hang them up onto the front porch in, I don't know, what is that, six weeks or so, I will probably top dress with some slow release just because I do that before I hang them up. But I personally love the Proven Winners. You can use whatever potting soil that you like, that you prefer. The one thing that I will caution you on is you're going to get what you pay for. All right. So if somebody's having a sale, because we're getting ready to go into that season, right? You're going to start seeing sales and they're like, oh, get this bag of soil, 5 for $10. That is probably not going to be the best soil out there. And it is going to come back and probably bite you. As I suspected, these hanging baskets are going to go ahead and take a full bag of the Proven Winners potting soil. That is 1.5 cubic feet. These are huge baskets, y'all. And because my liners are still just liners and not, big old like a grande or a gallon size, I am going to go ahead and fill it all the way up here with the potting soil. So yes, use a really high quality potting soil. If it's cheap, you're going to have cheap soil. You're going to have horrible results. So just be aware. Go to your local garden center. If you can't get the Proven Winners, go to your local garden center, Ask them what they recommend and they will tell you. Next, biotone. This is a huge difference maker. And y'all, I'm just gonna be honest with you. When we first started using biotone, I really only used it on my shrubs. Then I was using it on my perennials. I was like, I don't need to worry about it with annuals. I mean, they're annuals, they're in, they're out. Why waste my money of biotone on my annuals? Did it last year, and it made a huge difference. We put biotone down on the patio where we did the Super Petunia Mini Vista white petunias, and they were unbelievable. I didn't have to do water soluble fertilizer nearly as much as I would have to do if I didn't put the biotone. Biotone makes a big difference even for your annuals. So use it. So I'm just going to come in here and just do a little sprinkle. As we plant, this will zhuzh in there and it'll work itself in. All right. So if you already had, say you have the Grande containers, Grande of course is sitting right here beside of me. This is that Grande. You can just mix it in with that in your whatever container you're using and it will all work out just fine. Next thing, when you're putting containers together, you need to think about where you're going to put this container. Is this container going to be in the shade? Is it going to be in full sun all day long? Is it going to be morning sun, afternoon shade, or vice versa? That's really, really important because different plants have different growing conditions that they like. As I said before, this is going to be in shade predominantly all day until the end of the afternoon, and it's going to get, well, in the peak of the summer, it could get, 5 to 6 hours of late afternoon sun. This combo works really well together. So know your sun conditions, know how many hours of sun and when those hours occur. Then you're going to pick your plants according to that sunlight, right? So as I said before, I'm using Diamond Frost Euphorbia. Diamond Frost is listed as a full to part sun plant. I've had just so much experience with this that I know that it will do really well here. It can do absolutely full sun and it can also do half day sun. I've even seen it do really well in some shady conditions. Now this is a very young plant, so my roots are not really all the way through the container, and that is totally fine. I'm going to come in here, make a little well, gently turn her over and plop her in the center. I'm going to do 2 of these Diamond Frost in here. Diamond Frost will get to be 12 to 18 inches tall, and really the spacing is about a foot apart. However, because we're using these in a container, I'm basically going to plant them right beside each other because I want them, look at one plant and nice and big. So once you know your growing conditions, your sun conditions, pick like-minded plants. Pick plants that have the same sun requirements. You need to think about plants that have the same water requirements because some plants love water. Some plants don't really care. They can go either way, and then some plants tend to like it dry. So if say you're doing proven winners, you look on that tag, it will tell you their water requirements. Drought tolerant, low water needs, average water needs, high water needs. So you will know that you need to put plants that have the same sun requirements, the same water requirements, and then I would even dare say really the same fertilizing requirements, because if you're going to do not that I would ever put these two together, but let's say we put petunias, high feeders, with the Blue My Mind of Volvulus. It hates to be fertilized. So in a container, that's probably not going to do well because one doesn't really like food at all and one likes a ton of food. So that would not be a good combo to put together. Side note, we're going to come through and look at these little tiny little liners. Aren't they cute? So this is the Dragon Wing Red begonias, and we're going to put 4. You can see where my hooks are because this has a chain that goes up. I'm going to put it between the hooks. I don't want the chain going right on top of it. Now y'all, this is going to look so pitiful for right now, and that's okay, right? When you're a gardener, you have to be optimistic and dream about the future, not maybe what you see right in front of you right now. I mean, this is going to look so kind of funny right now. So once you have your like-minded plants of the same sun, the same water, the same fertilizing requirements, go for it. Have fun. Basically, you can do, there's a couple of ways that you can go about creating your containers. You can do what I'm doing a mixed container, right? So you can have plants that are generally going to be the same size, because my begonias and my diamond frost are going to be about the same average height. They're going to mix all in together. It is going to be beautiful. So they're going to have this nice mounded habit to them, and they're going to slightly spill over. My begonias are slightly going to come over. That's the beautiful thing about the dragon wings, is they kind of have a weeping habit to them. It's not going to be super long like a petunia, but we will have some cascading happen. These are all going to be about the same height. You could go with that thriller, filler, spiller recipe. We've done lots of videos on that. Or you could do a monoculture. Monoculture simply means that you have one plant, but maybe multiples of it. You could easily do a monoculture of just the dragon wing begonias. Gorgeous. You could do a monoculture of just diamond frost. Beautiful. Whenever you do a monoculture, you're going to have that one plant and multiples of it in that container. This makes a huge impact from a distance. If you're looking to draw people's attention and to really catch their eye, do a monoculture. It is stunning. I always love to do this with take a regular hanging basket that we have here at the nursery, whether it's like the Supertunia Vista bubblegum, or maybe it is the Super Bell's Dreamsicle, right? Whatever color it is, whatever plant it is, do that monoculture, you will love it. You don't have to worry about finding like-minded plants, because they're all the same plant. Last tip is, we've got it all nice and planted. I'm going to come back in with my Land and Sea, and I'm going to top dress. Top dressing, not maybe so as important with a hanging basket as far as the looks, because it's going to be hanging and you're not going to see it. But in your container that's maybe like eye level, ground level, one, it really dresses up the plant, the container. It kind of gets rid of the potting soil look. You don't see the perlite, you don't see the fertilizer, and so it makes it a nice and clean, neat, tidy environment. Also, again, it adds that food in there. So nice top dressing of that slow release food for your plants. Also, it acts like an insulator. When you add that compost, you could even add mulch if you wanted to. It acts like an insulating blanket for your plants, for your roots. So now, earlier in the season, it'll help insulate, keep the warmth in, keep those roots nice and warm. In the summertime, when it's super hot, it actually helps to keep them a little bit on the cooler side. It's just like the insulation in your attic of your house, right? It just helps to regulate those temperatures. Also, it helps keep out any weeds, because yes, you can get weeds into your containers. So it provides a nice little area. If you were to get a weed, it would be easy to pull it out. So I know she doesn't look like much now. She's a little tiny. She's a little on the dinky side. Give me 6 to 8 weeks. I'll change your mind. Give me till end of July. I will really change your mind on how this is going to look. So what we're going to do is, I got 3 more. I'm going to get them potted up, do the exact same method. We are going to keep these containers just like this. These are the mum pans that we use. It's a 10-inch plastic terracotta pot, because these hanging baskets are not flat on the bottom, so they wobble. I'm giving them some feet here in the greenhouse. They're actually going to go where Jerry is standing right now. They're going to hang out there, so when it's time to water them, it's easy to do. When it's time to fertilize, Jerry can easily, because of the fertigation system, when he's fertilizing these guys, he can just swipe them just a couple of times, give them some nice water and some food all at the same time, and they will just grow and flourish and be very, very happy. So it's as simple as that. I'm going to get the other 3 done, and then I'll meet you back here in just a second. All 4 of the hanging baskets have been potted up. They are watered, and now they sit, and we just wait on some sunshine and warmer days, and they will go ahead and just start growing like crazy. One thing that I forgot to talk about is, how do you determine the number of plants that you put in your container? That is going to depend on the size of your container and the vigor of your plants. It's a little hard for me to tell you exactly what to do. These being really large containers and nice and big, tons of room for them to grow. Like I said, they have 4 of the angel wings and then 2 of the diamond frost. Now, you might notice that the 2 in the middle actually have 5 begonias. That's because there were 2 extras in the tray. You know, waste not, want not. So we just plop them in there. But you're going to want to look as far as your number of plants, putting them, how many do you put in a container? You're gonna have to do a little bit of judgment, and if you've had experience growing those plants, then you know kind of how they perform and what their vigor is. You can also look on, like if it's a proven winter plant, I believe they tell you on like that product page what the vigor of it is. Like obviously, the Super Petunia Vistas, super vigorous. I mean, your most vigorous petunia. You're not gonna put as nearly as many vistas as you would say mini vistas or super bells, right? Because the vigor of the plant is different. Super Venas, the pink cashmere, the whiteout, those are all very vigorous growers. So you're gonna need less of them as opposed to something that has, that is more small and petite. That blew my mind, a volvulus, maybe a portulaca, those kinds of things, right? So you're just gonna have to use a little bit of judgment on how many do I put in that container. I can't really tell you exactly. Look at the vigor, look at the size of your container, and kind of go from there. Also look at your growing season. If you're like me and you have a really long growing season, then I would do less plants, because those plants are gonna have plenty of time to grow and get nice and big, and you don't wanna have to be out there watering 2 to 3 times a day in August, right? If you're in a cooler area and your season is shorter, say Michigan, or I don't know, I'm thinking Michigan, right? If you have cooler climate, shorter growing season, you can tend to put more plants in there to bulk them up faster, all right? I hope this has been helpful. I hope as you go through and you're planning your spring and you're planning your containers, that this information has been helpful, gives you a little bit more maybe confidence in going out there, making decisions. If you're going to those local garden centers, talk to your people. They will help you. I know we do here at Creekside, and we advise people on how to put containers together. As always, we hope you found this fun, informative, and inspirational. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.